Hello common people, this is a Komuga Reviews and I am your lovely host, Pepse. Just out of pure curiosity, I got my hands on Blu-ray collection of Dario Argento's movies. Dario Argento is an Italian film director, screenwriter and producer. His obscure way of making horror had him to master an Italian cinema, giallo, or cello, however it is pronounced. That is a genre of murder mystery fiction that contains elements from slashers, thrillers, psychological horror, sexploitation and in some cases from supernatural horror. This work of his had led him to be referred as Master of the Thrill and the Master of Horror. Argento has been meddling in the background in the movies as Once Upon a Time in the West and served as George R. Romero's script consultant on Dawn of the Dead, for which he also composed soundtrack with his longtime collaborators Goblin, an Italian progressive rock band. His popular works as a director includes, for example, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Suspiria, The Mother of Tears, Opera, and the film we are going to review today, Phenomena. Phenomena is a 1985 giallo horror film directed and co-written by Dario Argento. The plot is about an American girl at a remote Swiss boarding school who discovers that she has psychic powers that allows her to communicate with the insects. She uses this power to pursue a serial killer who is targeting young women at and around the school. We start this movie with the people boarding on a bus when one is left behind. A 14-year-old Danish tourist Vera tries to wave to the bus but with no luck. She then goes and finds a house and asks for help, with no answer. She then enters the house while camera is cut for someone or something trying to get itself free from the chains on the wall. When she repeatedly asks for help, she is then chased by something and is brutally killed. Before we move forward, there is something you are going to realize right away, and it's the music. I mean, listen to this freaking soundtrack. This movie uses a variety of really unusual music for a horror film. We hear music for example from Bill Wyman and Simon Boswell, who wrote original compositions for the film. It also includes some heavy metal from Iron Maiden and Motorhead, and some gothic rock such as Sex Gang Children. Some of it are fitting, like the sample I played, which is eerily haunting but different horror music than normal. I like ambient music in horror, but I gotta say that this is not a bad one at all. I kinda dig it. Some were kind of out of place. For example, I really cannot see Iron Maiden making music for a horror film. It felt weird to see someone walking in an abandoned building while Flash of the Blade blast on the background. Then we move to our main character named Jennifer Corvino, the daughter of a famous American actor. She arrives at the Swiss Richard Wagner Academy for Girls, who is led by Frau Bruckner, who leads her into her room and to her roommate Sophie. They talk until Jennifer falls asleep and she starts sleepwalking suddenly, ending up onto the roof where she witnesses a student being murdered. She wakes up and runs into the woods, where she is discovered by the best and most glamorous actress in the movie, Inga. Inga is a chimpanzee and an assistant of John McGregor, a forensic entomologist who also have been diving into these murders, as one of the victims was his former assistant. Entomologist researches bugs, and he is researching bugs that are considered those who get involved with dead bodies. So when Jennifer arrives, soon he sees that for some reason insects act differently, depending on her mood, and even are friendly to her. From this, John realizes that Jennifer has sort of telepathic abilities to communicate with them. He sends Jennifer and one great sarcophagus fly to solve this haunting mystery. This movie was a surreal experience, something I would accept with the man who directed Suspiria, but even more so. Students of the campus spoke weirdly in this movie for some reason. I first listened and thought that it's really stiff acting, but then I thought that It might be on purpose, perhaps. I don't know. Jennifer's roommate Sophie had a really weird way of emphasizing her sentences in my opinion. Put aside from weird talking, sceneries were beautiful. Really nice shots of the hills and mountains, long distance villages and fields. When someone was walking in an empty house, it felt sometimes really empty and wide, as the camera was filming from up and angled. They really put emphasis on those shots and I think that they were really great at it. This film contains some gore and really explicit images of dead bodies, rotting body parts and maggots swarming in them. So if you have a rather weak stomach, don't watch this before a meal. Also a lot of insects, as you might guess. From maggots and bees to flies, every sort was there. Movie kicked things going super fast. It was satisfying, horrifying and interesting at the same time. I don't want to spoil anything to you, because I think that people should experience this movie even once. Ending was haunting and gave great relief when everything concluded, and all the horror we endured were finally over. Still my favorite thing in this movie was music. It was this dark 80s synthwave thingy that I really liked. I have never heard something like that in a movie before, and I really liked it. And I think that just because of the weird soundtracks, the one thing you maybe have to do is to go and listen to those soundtracks if you don't watch this movie, because those are really bangers. This was my review about Phenomena, a really surreal and surprisingly musical horror murder mystery which you should see. This was Common Guy Reviews and I am your lovely host Pepse, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next review. Goodbye.